Hi, I'm Amy Lee Miller. Welcome to Empower Hour topic sessions. Today, I want to talk about resumes, resume writing, and should or should you not get a resume writer. So, I have a lot of experience working with candidates, coaching them throughout the interview process, working with hiring managers, and also, of course, looking at resumes. So, good place to start here. I'm a recruiter, I'm a hiring coach and consultant. I have a program helping hiring managers to create greater efficiencies and eliminate unnecessary stress in their recruiting and hiring process and hire with confidence, create lasting hires with confidence. And then I'm also a career coach. So I do work with clients one-on-one in helping them identify and succeed in their career direction. So I want to talk about resumes and resume writers today and share a few reasons why I think you should write your own resume. So the number one reason I think that everybody should write their own resume is because this is your one page, and that's tip number one. Your resume should be one page most of the time. In some cases, maybe not, especially if you are a PhD, for example, and you want to list all of your publications. So depending on the type of role in the industry, that could vary. But most of the time, especially if you are early on in your career or mid-level in your career, and even later in your career, ideally you want to work to have a one-page resume. But anyhow, your resume is your one-page representation of yourself and your career and educational background, experience, and accolades. And nobody knows that better than you. So that is reason number one. Reason number two is that by sitting down to take some time to polish up your resume, consider if you have all of the information that you want included in your resume, if there's maybe some stuff that doesn't need to be there, and I'll give some tips on that too. You are helping yourself to get better prepared throughout the interview process. Think about it. If your experience and accolades are clearly documented on your resume, the more likely you're going to be able to clearly articulate and confidently your experience and your accolades during the interview process. So one thing that I often talk about is how taking time creates time. And this is just another example. Yes, it does take a little bit of time to sit down with your resume, but likely not more than an hour or two. And, if you do need or would like to check out some tips and figure out some best practices and how to improve your resume, well, one thing that you can do is utilize your resources. And this is something that your future hiring manager is going to be looking for you to be demonstrating throughout the interview process anyway. So you may as well go ahead and get started with writing your own resume. So how can you utilize your resources in perfecting your resume, which does not need to be perfect. And I'll come back to that in a moment. But you can do a Google search on, Google is amazing. YouTube can pretty much teach you how to do anything these days. I've taught myself how to do so many technical things from YouTube videos. Whenever I get stuck, I don't get stuck. I just, search on YouTube for a quick video and figure out how to do it. So anyhow, YouTube will have some great references. But another thing that you can do is check the LinkedIn profile of maybe an accomplished teammate or somebody that you know or whose career you've been following that you aspire to kind of follow in their footsteps. And you can see what they highlight on their LinkedIn profile, because most of the time your resume is going to mirror your LinkedIn profile, and it should. If you're actively looking, you want to keep both up to date, including specific. Well, people talk a lot about AI these days, and which I don't have too much, not really any experience in just yet. We'll see if that changes when it needs to. But a lot of times you're working, directly with a hiring manager, or you're working with a recruiter. So a lot of times your resume is not going to get, kicked out because it doesn't have certain keywords. But that's not the point that I want to talk about here. With certain, when I say keywords, you want to highlight your experience. So if you're in sales, for example, who have you called on? What are your call points, and what products are you selling? Because if somebody is searching for that experience, be it a recruiter or a hiring manager, they're going to be looking for that. And if you've left that information off of your resume, then you may not show up. But okay, yeah. So nobody knows your experience better than you. And so you should write your own resume, I believe. And then, in taking time to sit down and prepare your resume, you're preparing for the interview process. You're also starting the process of demonstrating your ability to utilize your resources by doing it yourself. And then The another reason to write your own resume is when you do take the time to sit down and document and highlight and think back and reflect on your experience, your achievements, how you achieved what you did, you're likely going to feel really good. It's going to give you a confidence boost, and that's going to elevate your mindset, which will in turn help you attract the ideal opportunities with greater ease. So those are three reasons that I think you should write your own resume. There's probably lots of people out there that don't agree with me. But yeah, I hear this a lot. So I'll be speaking with a candidate, and whenever I talk with a candidate, if whether it's a good fit to move forward with the opportunity or not, if I see something in their resume that I feel like I can offer a tip on, I'll ask them, if it's, do you mind if I offer a suggestion on your resume? And something I've been hearing a lot of lately is, oh yeah, I haven't gotten a resume writer yet. I need to do that. But here's a tip. You can write your own resume and it doesn't need to be perfect. If you are not getting interviews, it's not your resume that's holding you back. Because think about it like this. If we peel back a layer, if you are actively pursuing opportunities, you are ready, you really want a new opportunity, but you have not chosen to sit down and take some time to work on your resume. Well, whose fault is that? So in that case, I talk a lot about taking responsibility for ourselves because that empowers us to equip ourselves with what we need and get ourselves where we want to go. You want to take responsibility for yourself and your actions. So if you are actively pursuing opportunities, you want to take the time to sit down with your resume. I mentioned perfection. So of course you want to make sure that your resume is free of grammatical errors and typos, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to present who you are, where you've been, what you've done in as clearly and confidently as possible. And if you can do that on your resume, you can the more likely you'll be able to do that confidently and clearly in an interview. A couple glaring mistakes or bad examples of resumes I have seen from resume writers. One nearly cost this candidate the opportunity that I was representing her for. So her background, she had exactly the ideal background that this hiring manager wanted. So I was super excited when I interviewed her and felt like she was a great fit with the company culture, her personality and what she was looking for, all of that. So I was excited to present her, and the manager didn't reply. So I always send detailed notes along with the resume. I submitted her 4 times, just, being persistent because, hey, this is exactly what you're wanting. Why are we not moving forward with this candidate? And I just kept getting no response. But I was persistent. The 5th time, I sent the email saying, I'm confused. Help me understand why you're not looking at this candidate. She has the exact experience that you said that you're looking for. And there was a mistake on the resume, and it was the title of her last role. And so there was the big mistake was the name of the company. And it was messed up in such a way that the hiring manager wasn't familiar with the company. And so he wasn't moving forward. So I took that information back to the candidate. She looked at her resume and said, oh gosh, I had a resume writer do my resume and she made that mistake. And so she fixed it. I resent her resume and she interviewed and she got the job. And I believe, according to LinkedIn, she's still with the company today, going on 4 years later. So write your own resume. That was a pretty big mistake. Another resume that I saw coming from a resume writer was beautiful. This was a stellar, just like gorgeous resume. Who uses those words to describe resumes? But you want it to be easy on your eyes. You want the information to jump right out at you. Maybe I'll talk more on that in a moment if I have time. But the challenge or the problem that I saw with this resume, even though it was very beautiful, was the title that they gave the candidate was misleading because it read as though this candidate had more experience than she truly did, and as though she were at a higher level in her career than she was. Now, maybe she's aspiring for that, so maybe you put the title advertising for what you want to be, where you want to be in your career. But the problem there is it potentially sets the candidate up for a not so great or confusing or misleading or challenging initial interview, because the manager might be confused or misled because the title says this, but actually your experience is this. So then you're going into the interview having to kind of backtrack, explain yourself, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And also, let's say you're aspiring to be that level in your career and you put that as a title. Well, if you're already that, then the question is, why are you looking to leave your current role? Because why you're looking to leave is, and maybe you're not looking, sometimes that's the case too. You're happy and somebody is seeking you out, and that's okay. But if you're actively looking, you need to be able to explain transparently why you're looking. And so that was an example of a gorgeous resume there was also something wrong with it from a resume writer. So when you write your own resume, you can avoid these potential mistakes because you know your experience better than anybody else. So you can speak to it. And then also by taking time to prepare your resume, to utilize your resources, if you need some help polishing it up, you are already preparing yourself for the interview process to continuing conducting yourself that way. And when one time I was going through, I just started an interview process and I didn't stick with it because ultimately I knew it wasn't what I wanted. If I have a second, I'll talk about that. I have to keep this kind of short though. Oh, yeah. So my point was, I was preparing for this interview process. And so one of the things I did was make a PowerPoint presentation of all of my achievements. And it took me a long time to do that, but it made me feel so good. So take some time to sit back, to reflect on your past experiences and your achievements. All of that has built you up to prepare you so that you are now equipped to take that next step in your career, and let that excite you, and let that excited energy help you to become curious about that next step. So this is really a good exercise of investing in yourself. So yes, write your own resume. I guess I'll take just one more minute to expand on that the interview process that I started to go through and then decided not to. And I just recorded a video on this. So you guys will see it soon if you're following, but this is something I recommend not doing in the interview process. As soon as you learn it's something that it's an opportunity that you don't want, get it out of there. You get out of there. It's not an opportunity. An opportunity, if you don't want something, how is that an opportunity? We all want different things, and we're not all aligned for the same thing. So just because an opportunity sounds and looks really good to somebody else does not mean that you should want it. So don't try to make yourself. Trust your instincts. Pay attention to how something is making you feel. An opportunity, an environment, the people you're interviewing with, the day in the life. Is this what you want? And if it's not, then great. Get out of there. You saved yourself time. You saved the hiring manager time. A lot of times, people will give this advice. It's been given to me. I ignore it. I don't take it. I listen to my instincts, but I hear it, it just seems to be a common train of thought to stick with the interview process. Go ahead and go through the interview process. But why? If that's not what you want, get out of there, because where you focus is where you go. And you're going to go further faster if you're focusing 80% of your energy in one direction versus split energy. And if you listen to your instincts and you know where you want to go and you focus there, well, then you're going to get there faster. So I think I'm going to be putting together an offering for a resume workshop, not a resume. I won't be writing your resume, but I'll be giving some tips and some one-on-one pointers. It'll be like a group Zoom, kind of workshop. I'm going to be putting that together, as well as an interview coaching workshop. So if that's something that interests you, feel free to comment below or message me, and then I can update you on when we are ready to go with that. But I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.